Well, I think I had mentioned earlier that I worked in radio, um, which had had all kinds of disciplines as far as writing is concerned. Prior to that time, I had through school been a writer, but mostly for print, for college magazines and that kind of thing. So that my experience in radio was the first time I was ever challenged to write for The Voice, and it, as I said, it has served me very well, including the fact that I can remember well that I wrote the house commercials for a B. White Furniture Store, and in a minute commercial you had to mention B. White Furniture Store at least 12 times, and that's a challenge and a trick I've never forgotten. But that was very healthy and very new. I mean, we're talking late 40s, and writing for The Voice was really quite rare. Even today, there are not that many schools in terms of their education for public relations, which offer courses in speech writing. And let me tell you that speech writing, the keys to the kingdom, certainly in the corporate world, because you do have to understand the issues that an executive, particularly CEOs, want to convey. You have to be able to listen to their voice styles, learn how they think, so that a speech for you is quite different than a speech for someone else, and so that's a very valued skill today in public relations. So I have appreciated the fact. I'm a great believer in providence. That probably is something else that has characterized my career in public relations, because unlike the textbook wisdom, I never really had a plan, and I think it's obvious from some of the recital here. I did not know or understand or had heard of public relations, and yet I was prepared for it at its moment in time, back post World War II, and I do think that sometimes if you're too hard and fast about planning, it can get in the way of some very exciting times. Fundamentally, I think a good education in public relations is grounded in the liberal arts. We are ultimately dealing with the stuff of human behavior, of culture, and normally that is defined in education as the arts and sciences, liberal arts, and so that must be the groundwork for any student that's preparing for the field of public relations. And indeed, that's not a lonely opinion. Ever since the first people in the mid 70s were courageous enough to start defining the curriculum for a new fledgling profession called public relations. And they were two huge giants called Carol Bateman and Scott Cutlip, along with a few hangers-on like myself. That has always been a given. that you must have a foundation in the liberal arts and the arts and sciences, because you must understand the culture in which you are to practice. And then the basic skill with which we must be equipped is the skill of writing in all of its many guises, whether it's for print or for the voice, or it has, all new dimensions today. But the use of words with which we communicate ideas and opinions, so that writing is a basic skill. Then as education has grown in public relations, we ask that a student have some command of research, that they know how to plan to address a particular objective or problem, and to plan for its solutions, that then they are capable of putting those plans into action. And then the fourth requirement, which is getting more and more attention these days at long last, thanks to such organizations as the Institute for Public Relations. We must be able to evaluate and measure our effectiveness after the plan has been completed and the action has been taken. So students have to have those kinds of models in the classroom with which to deal, and obviously they bring various experiences that have happened out there, be they for a service or for a product, or whatever the problem has been, whether it's a problem in crisis management or all the variety of problems that we may face in public relations, so that becomes part of the curriculum of the undergraduate student. Now you understand that the pressure on the other side, of course, is the fact that normally you're talking about maybe 120 or is it 124 semester hours that a student has to take. Well, we've asked the student to have a broad spectrum of liberal arts. Then we've asked them to get into some specialties that have to do with writing and analysis of problems and ability to solve problems and to measure the degree to which they were solved well. So pretty soon they've used up all their credit hours that are available in a four-year college situation. So that more and more we are saying to students, and it is happening in other disciplines as well, you ought to get a master's degree. You ought to take another 2 years of college. Well, that is not the best news that parents ever heard, nor is it the best news that a student, which is who's labored hard for 4 years, has ever heard either. So that much is there's kind of a compromise being reached. Students are going through their basic education for public relations in their undergraduate years. Many of them are going out and getting entry-level jobs and moving up, if they are capable and circumstances are hospitable, moving up into middle management, hopefully in a corporation or an agency that will encourage them to go back and get continuing education, and will help to fund a master's degree, which many of them take at night or on extended weekends or whatever the pattern is. They will get a master's degree in public relations, or perhaps in the business sciences, or some other area which will serve them well in their at their desks. The PhD piece of it is generally, and that's a whole other issue in education today. A PhD is generally for those who wish to pursue a career in teaching, and that's where the PhD is needed and required. Unfortunately, the pipelines with PhD candidates are not very full in public relations, or not full enough. Let me say you have today such a demand for a career in public relations that it is probably one of the hottest disciplines you find on college campuses at this particular time. Certainly, it long ago surpassed journalism. It has some competition with from advertising and some from telecommunications, but generally speaking, we began in the last generation, or education, particularly in communications, discovered that public relations as a career choice was taking off like a rocket. So I won't get into some of the problems that we have with academic administrations today about who's teaching public relations, but suffice it to say that that we do not have enough young people who are aspiring to get that PhD in a public relations or allied field so that they can teach the discipline. And it's a very promising career field for a smart, bright young person, and I hope that many are inspired to take it on as their lifetime goal. There are very few educators whom I know, and I know a lot of educators, who haven't had some experience in the practice. So that I'm really saying to my peers and colleagues, you just don't know. You're making an assumption that the educator that you met at this conference, or the educator that you met when you were in the classroom delivering a lecture, has never seen the inside of an agency or the inside of a corporation. You're mistaken, because most of them have had some kind of experience in the field, and you know we can match names about it. It's just that we don't know their backgrounds as much as we should. Now, part of that is their problem. They haven't let us know that they do have that kind of experience. And indeed, I do agree that I would hope that any young person aspiring to a PhD in a teaching career would also recognize that he or she has got to get some practical experience, a hands-on experience in the world of the practice, because of all disciplines, public relations is not. Public relations is more like medicine. You know, you can't do it all without ever encountering the human being, and because that's what we're all about, the human encounter, and that reaches into some other problems that I have with the current field. But my point is, yes, I agree that teachers, educators should have experience in the field, and to the extent that some don't, they ought to.